Hello, friends, and welcome to your midweek edition of the Kings of Anglia Ipswich Town podcast. I am Mark Heath. I am your host, and with me today, two of the best Kings. We missed him on Monday because he was busy doing other stuff. Man like Roscoe, the prospect, the bearded one, the boy wonder. More of a man wonder now, I guess, Roscoe. You're looking sharp, you're looking trim. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And yeah, fresh trim had to be done. I was getting very hairy. I'm hairy anyway, but I was getting maybe tad too hairy. Even my missus is saying, I can't even feel your lips anymore. And, you know what I mean when you kiss your other half.
Yeah, tell
anyway,
us. Keep going, mate.
That's good detail.
Yeah, I'm a romantic man, but I'm very well, thank you. I'm fresh off a trip down in Felixstowe last night for the women's team. Bit nippy. The weather's turned again. But yeah, they got a good win, so yeah, all good.
It's actually not as bad as it could be. We were meant to be getting Beast of these too, weren't we, in this week? And it was meant to be snowing at the moment, but that's not happening. It's just a bit cold. Ladies won last night, didn't they, Rossi?
Yeah, 1-0 win. Penalty wasn't a classic, but 3 points, clean sheet. Happy days.
Just how hairy are you on a scale of 1 to hairy?
I've got a hairy chest.
Yeah, we've seen that. When you're in drink, you like to get that out, don't you, Rossi? As we found out in Manchester, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's just the go-to, isn't it? Just opposite.
It's the obvious.
Yeah,
it's the obvious, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I've got hairy arms, hairy legs. I should use Manscaped more often, maybe.
You should, because they're our sponsor. Use the code KOA, 20% off manscaped.com. Exactly. Someone who's an enthusiastic Manscaper, just like myself, and also the reason for our latest 5-star review on iTunes, friends. If you've not 5-star reviewed us, please do now. Hutchie, our latest 5-star review on iTunes simply says from Arnold Bickers, loved the lanyard chat. Please cover this topic more. And you were the man that led that red hot lanyard chat on Monday by ranking your top 3 lanyards. So more of that, please, now.
I don't know if I've got any more on lanyards. Next time, yeah, I've got no more. I've got no more lanyard chat. I need something to happen in the lanyard world, and we can run with it from there.
What lanyard in the sporting world do you most covet? Would you most like to have hanging from your door or wherever you keep them?
I've never thought about that until today.
Think about it now.
I would like a lanyard from the NBA Finals.
Oh, yes. That's a good one, Hutchie. Very much so. Yeah, that would be a good one to have in the locker, wouldn't it? Rossi, you must have loads of lanyards from your time snapping. You've been all over the gaff, haven't you? Didn't you cover a game at Wembley once?
Yeah, the Women's FA Cup final.
That's right, yeah.
I've got the Ipswich Town one here, so,
Just keep that by you at all times, just in case.
That's just what I do. This is where this is my dumping ground, aka my office, aka spare room. So I just chuck things in here, and the media pass just gets chucked in here, and then I use it when we have games. But I've got loads of other spares that, as Hutchie mentioned, you take them. They sometimes ask for them back, but sometimes you take.
I think they always ask for them back, don't they? You're meant to give them back
most of the time, but you just forget about it and they just store. So yeah, if anybody want any more plastic lanyards, let us know.
I wonder if there's a market, Hutchie, you'll know about this, for sell-on lanyards. Can you put them on Vinted? I reckon there probably is.
Probably
people would
probably
invest.
For good ones. I can't believe we've gone lanyard again. I can't believe this.
It's what the people want, and I've got to give the people what they want.
It's what one person wanted.
Well, yeah, but
I want
more.
At
least 5 more want more. So there we go. That's the general rule of thumb when it comes to this business we call show. The reason I've started with lanyards essentially is because not much has happened since we last spoke. So today's show, friends, is basically going to be a big old dive into the mailbag. We've not heard from you for a little while, so we've got loads of questions to get into. We'll do as much mailbag as we possibly can within an hour, and then hopefully we'll look ahead, have a little fun by looking ahead to the March fixtures, and finish, of course, by looking ahead to Burton. But right, let's make no more bones about it. No more lanyard chat. We've had that fun. Let's dive into mailbag, shall we, Hutchie? And you know what we've got to do when we dive into mailbag? We need to hear from the voice of a generation, the voice of a songbird, the angelic vocal cords of Hutchie, the Hutchman, Hutch Hogan, Adolf Hutchler, Warren.
I'm going to give this full beans. So if you're driving, just hold on to the steering wheel, and
you're in for a ride.
I'm going to give this everything that I've got. Okay.
Yeah.
Mailbag. It's
Jesus.
from Mark, Andy, not Stu and Ross to dip into the mailbag.
I appreciate. Maybe
Got
others
some
won't. Well, it was tremendous, and I'm quite aroused as a result. But I also enjoyed the fact, as a pro, you leaned away from the mic because the sudden increase in volume there would absolutely send the mic mental. But you leaned back to lessen that impact, Hutchie.
This is
And that's
not
what
my
I like.
first rodeo, mate.
Exactly.
I know what I'm doing. I've performed,
Exactly.
boy.
You've been on stage, as we found out in the Christmas special. If you've not listened to that, by the way, go back and listen to that now. Nothing to do with football. Lots of us kind of lying to each other, though. Right then, what should we do first? Let's find a non-football one to do first, shall we? Right, this is a good one. The Blues wants to know, one member of the first team playing squad is homeless. So who are you offering your spare room to? He says, to stop you playing safe and going for KVY or Genoy, your choices are Luke Wolfenden, Freddie Ladapo, Carl Edwards, or Sam Morsey. I've got very definite views on this.
All right, so have I.
Do you want to start with your views then?
Yeah. I think Luke Wolfenden would actually be an incredibly low maintenance house guest.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Wolfie is incredibly laid back, isn't he?
Yeah.
Almost to the point of being horizontal.
That's all I want. That's all I need.
And I just wonder if that would translate into mess, though.
No, I don't reckon it will.
Yeah.
No, I reckon no. I mean, I don't. I'm not expecting him to be sort of come in and be Mrs. Hinch, and like, I don't. That's not what I'm after from him. But I don't need drama brought into my house.
No.
And I don't think
house is a drama-free zone.
This is a safe space, and I think Luke would both respect and embrace that. If I'm being completely honest.
Okay.
So I'd welcome Luke with open arms if you're listening, Luke.
Of course he is, yeah.
In the unlikely event that you are made homeless, there's always a bed for you here. That bed there, which is where you'd be. So
I'd invite Luke if he could bring his dogs with him. I love the look of his dog. He's got Rotties, hasn't he? Lovely dogs. So yeah, Wolfenden come stay with me if he's bringing his dogs. The man I'd actually want staying with me though is Captain Fantastic Sam Morsey, because he's a bit of a reader like myself, and we could have some deep and meaningful chats about books we've read and thoughts on the process. I reckon.
Do you want that at home though? Is that not too?
I would like to sit and talk to Sam about winning.
Go out for a coffee. Don't invite him into your house. Like, that's fine. Like I think that would be a fascinating conversation. Don't get me wrong, but just go out for a coffee. Don't I can't think of anything worse.
There you go, Sam. Home. You're not welcome at House Hutchie. That's
you're welcome. You're welcome for a coffee. You're welcome to come over for a coffee anytime.
Just don't bring your book chat with you,
and don't bring a sleeping bag because you're not staying. So
you've got Wolfie. I've got Morsey. Roscoe, if you could host one of those four heroes from town, who would it be?
I'm going to go for Big Fred. And as Hutchie said, Big Fred can stay in here, my dumping ground. Of just
lucky
rubbish.
Man.
Lucky man. But I think you'll be a good company. We'll play a bit of FIFA, watch some box sets, eat some good food, play some tunes, and just have a good night. He'll do a DJ set, do the DJ.
Sounds like fun. Sounds like fun. Actually, I mean, think about it. We've left Kyle Edwards out there, but Eduardo's a rapper, isn't he? So that would lend himself to quite an interesting night as well, or at least exactly.
Is it just one night?
Doesn't say. I get they're homeless, so I assume it's for longer than one night.
Yeah, it's for quite a long term thing. Like I bumped into Freddie Ladapo in the Japanese restaurant in town previously, and I think we share a liking of Japanese food.
Right.
That if it was for one night, I'd be up for that. Like
maybe we could go like Luke Chambers. Like Luke Chambers had half the town youth team living with him at one point. Maybe we could just get all four in. The thing I like about Sam Morsey is I reckon he'd take my life, which is kind of drifting, I would say, as we get, in terms of approach to things.
Do you need to have a chat?
Okay? But Morsey would be up. He'd be up at 6 a.m. every morning. He'd be straight on the protein, the lean greens. He'd probably have steak and nuts for breakfast, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I reckon he could lead me into better things, and I could be excellent. Right then, Matt Thomas, our fighty friend, moving on. That's quite a long one, wasn't it? This is another long one, actually. This is for you and Rossi. He wants to know, since you've been watching Town, who's the best signing, worst signing, best game, worst game, best interviewee, and worst to interview? That's a lot. So if you take it one by one, best signing since you've been watching Town.
Since I've been watching them.
Which is different to covering. It definitely says watching.
Okay. Jim Magilton is probably the best signing they've made in the time I've been watching them. He kind of, if you were drifting, Ipswich, they weren't drifting, but they needed a bit of an injection of something. And Jim Magilton did that back in 97, 98. Whenever, I think it was 98 they signed him. Maybe 99. But yeah, him.
Rossi, obviously you're a bit younger in vintage, so I imagine you're not going to say Magilton.
No, there's so many. There's so many you could choose from. Just one player that top of my head, don't know why. John Walters, I think, from signing from Chester, played well against us in the FA Cup. They played a replay, and then Jimmy Hilton signed him. But yeah, I like John Walters. Not in his second return. Yeah, got injured and retired. But I like John Walters. So yeah, good old.
Fair enough. Worst signing.
Can I chuck a blanket over a few here and say basically anything that Paul Lambert did in a January transfer window? Because they were
Fair
all,
enough.
generally speaking, horrific. There are a few exceptions. Go back to the first one. Ultimately, Alan Judge did okay for Ipswich. Will King did okay for Ipswich, but that window was just full of panic. And the second one he had, I think they only signed Josh Earl, which again restricted by Marcus Evans here, but didn't do an awful lot. And then his final one, like Luke Thomas, Matheson, just did absolutely nothing. So I'm going to take an easy out here and just say anything that Paul Lambert did in January.
Fair enough. Rossi, anything to add to that?
Leon Best.
Yeah, he's the
Darren
classic,
Murphy's
isn't he?
replacement. So yeah, he's up there.
I worked out recently. I actually never saw Leon Best play football for Ipswich.
Man,
I looked through all of his games. I didn't attend a single one of them. Isn't that fun?
That is fun. Yeah, exactly. I think you'd have a lot of support there, Ross, for that being the worst signing. Best game. I know there's not much point asking Hutchie this because I know he's going to say the Bolton game. I'd imagine.
Well, it's the best game. Yeah, that's the best game of football I've ever attended in my life. I can come up with something else if you want. Go to Ross and I'll
Rossi,
I'll come up with an alternative.
How old were you when that game was played? You were about 3, weren't you? So you can't have that one.
No, I can't have that one. I was there, but I was just there as a.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, no. There's loads. I love goals. But I have to say the Pablo Canago Coventry late winner, that's got to be up there. Some people were saying to me, "Oh, because I was young, I won't tell my age actually, but I was close to actually leaving because it was a night game, school in the morning, but no, stayed, and Pablo, unbelievable moment, and just 3-2, yeah."
Have you got another one then?
Yeah, I've got a few more. That the game that finished 6-4 at home to Crewe. I really enjoyed when Ipswich came from 2 down with a man down to beat Sheffield United at Portman Road in 2003. I think that's a very memorable one. More recently, I remember Ipswich beating Sunderland. Was it 5-2 at Portman Road in mixed final season? That was a really good night, and of a more recent one. The Portsmouth game this season was great.
Yeah. Worst game then, in terms of your era covering the club, Hutchie, and certainly Stewie.
All roads lead. Yeah, all roads lead to Ipswich Town 0, Burton 0, which is fitting given for today's game. That was if you ever talk to me about worst game, my mind instantly goes to that. Horrendous.
Which actually covers one of the other questions. Tom says, "Will there ever be a game worse than Town 0, Burton 0 in 2018?" There's your answer, Tom.
It can't be understated how dreadful a game of football that was. Absolutely. I think Darren Bent was playing for Burton and nearly scored a winner for them late on. Horrendous.
Rossi, have you got any other thoughts on worst games? You'd have been covering that one, wouldn't you? Was that just before you
Potentially,
started?
maybe. I probably was there, and yeah, that's definitely up there. One game that I've got in mind is a 0-0 draw, another 0-0 draw with Mick against Wigan, and it just rained the whole game. And I was actually a season ticket holder at this point. This was back in 2015. I went with my good old Nan Doreen, and we actually left. We actually left on the hour
You
mark.
left?
I just
Wow.
yeah, me and my Nan, we went and got a hot chocolate at half time. We came out and we just thought, let's just go home. It was just boring.
You left on the hour mark.
Yeah,
that must have been dreadful. That is very early.
It was wet, and we just thought, let's just go. My Nan just went, should we just go home? I went, yeah, why not? So, yeah,
tough one for a Nan. That
I was going to say, is Doreen still around?
Yeah, she's still around. Good old Doreen. Yeah,
is she a bit spry? Is she a bit nifty? Because we were speculating on Monday's pod about opportunities that my Nan could score, that the old cliche card, and we referenced a couple. The Broadhead miss from the weekend, Freddie the Dapo's diving header miss against Forest Green. Do you reckon Doreen could have tucked either of those away?
Maybe not diving header, but maybe the back post, little tap in, maybe.
That's the toughest of the two, arguably.
Diving header, I don't know. You got a bit, yeah. She doesn't want to break her back, does she, when she diving header? But now she gets about. She walks about, my Nan. She's a big volleyball player in her time. Hockey player as well.
Nice. So she's athletic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back then, not now.
It still lives on though. Like it's still in there, and in that if that moment fell to her,
exactly,
she could call on better times.
Muscle memory would kick in, and Doreen would bury that opportunity. If your Nan would have scored that, do let us know. Hutchie, these next two are probably for you, really. Best interviewee and worst interviewee.
Worst. There's a bit worst. There's plenty of worst ones who just aren't up for talking, and they tend not to do it very often because it's quickly apparent that they're not going to do it. Grant Ward wasn't great. Didn't ever feel like I was going to be able to share anything of any interest with people from Grant Ward. Best interviewee, I'll stick to the more recent ones. James Norwood was always a fascinating person to speak to. Obviously he was barred from doing media duties for quite a significant period of his time as an Ipswich player, but every time he was made available, always fascinating, and actually a really intelligent bloke. Plays the class clown a little bit, obviously we know that, but I remember speaking to him after Paul Cook's team won at Swindon at the back end of that season. He was the captain. He gave a brilliant interview that day. Fascinating.
Is there anyone from town history, actually, that you kind of think, I wish I had the opportunity to spend some time with them and interview them, as an extra question?
Well, yeah. Obviously, I'd have loved to know kind of what the vibe was like interviewing people in 1981. How did that work? Like now, it's all very kind of scripted. You wait here until you get to speak to this person for a short amount of time. But I'd love to have had just see how it worked, what went on, where did these interviews happen, like, and in what state were the people being interviewed?
Yeah.
Both in terms of dress and
inebriation.
That would just be fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the back end of the golden era of print journalism, wasn't it? And that was when reporters often travelled on coaches with players and all that kind of stuff. So you had a whole extra kind of level of access and relationship really with players and managers that just doesn't exist now in football, with the kind of media managed world that we exist in, and cliches all over the place. Rossi, of course, you are speaking to people from the golden history of town at the moment for your In Pictures series. You've done Matt Holland, which was great. You've done George Burley, which went out last week, very well received. And you've got another one lined up, haven't you? Just tell us a bit about that while I find the next question.
Yeah, it's good old Simon Milton. I don't know why. I need to stop doing this. It's just a go-to, isn't it? But yes, Milks was good, and I also went up to Leeds to see Alex Maffey. Really good chat with him as well. So two players I actually never watched play. So this is the problem with this sometimes. Like, yeah, they're sharing great memories, but I wasn't born. But they're great. They're great talkers. But I'm hoping to change the eras around. From the golden era, 90s, 2000s, and maybe more current ones in the future as well. But yeah, look out for that. It'll come out at some point in March. The Simon Milton one, anyway.
Leon Best in pictures. That's what I want to see. Hutchie, I reckon you'll have feelings on this. Maddie Reader wants to know. She has a quick question for you, lad. She does actually address us. Hello there, Kings. Points for that, Maddie. Quick question for you. Thoughts on walkout tops? Why do you wear them for 30 seconds and take them off straight away?
I do have thoughts. Understandable when there's a minute silence going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think they need to be worn to walk from. The whole beginning of the match procedure, to me, needs a refit. I think it quite frankly, it's all ridiculous. I used to love it when the two teams would come running out of the tunnel. They'd run out of the tunnel, just go to their halves, crack on. Now they do this silly little walk, stand there. They don't shake hands anymore. They just stand there and then turn around and go away. It's all a bit of a silly little dance. Ball on the podium. Warm up, walk out tops. I believe they're called presentation jackets. Yeah,
which is basically what they are by the sound of it. They literally wear for the formalities.
Yeah,
and then
there's some market. I'm sure there's some sale. Like, it's a free advert in it to an extent, isn't it? I'm sure there's part of it about keeping warm and stuff. But yeah, thankfully this Ipswich, like some teams you see, that we're going too deep on jackets here, but some teams you see like just take them off and chuck them on the floor, and then the poor kit man is go around scooping them up. But Ipswich are a lot more civilized than that, and I think I'm right in saying that they actually hand them to the kit man just as like normal human beings should do.
Yeah.
Because Ipswich are a good bunch of human beings, and maybe this is the embodiment of that.
Do you know what I'd like to see, Hutchie, from other sports in terms of warm-up attire in football? I'd like to see the detachable, the flip side sweats they have in the NBA. The rip-off trousers. You know what I'm talking about?
with poppers and just
with the poppers. So there's a real technique to it, because I used to have these when I was a kid when I was playing basketball, to try and inevitably you try and rip them off, and you end up with like one leg half still on and kind of trip over as you're trying to run. I'd like to see that in football. I know it's American, but I can't see it catching on. I'm just saying, maybe for one game. Tab wants to know, when is the pork poncho KOA testimonial? We're still in negotiations with Mr. Bacon, Tom. I think we are going to get him on at some point, but we do now have to meet quite an even larger appearance fee with him no longer being under contract. So negotiations ongoing. Hopefully that will happen before the end of the season. Arthur Pickthorne, Rossi, who's your biggest cult hero at Town? Mine, he says, was Shefty Coochie, with special mention to Tyrone Mings, John Walters, Connor Chaplin. P.S. Keep up the great work. Thank you, King Arthur. Your cult hero at Town, Rossi?
There's a couple. Yes, Shefty would be up there because of his celebration. For me, don't know why. I love Darren Curry, the stepovers, and just free kicks. Why not? Just Darren Curry, and of course Pablo. Good old Pablo. So they're mine.
Curry and Pablo. Hutchie, you got some cult heroes?
Yeah, all the obvious ones really. I did love watching Coochie, Peralta. So I wouldn't say some of the ones that have been listed here are cult heroes as such. It's
they're just heroes.
Yeah, I think some of them mentioned might have a little way to go to reach that status, but but yeah, I'll always remember watching Shefty Coochie. He was an odd approach to the game, but it worked.
How do you define a cult hero? It's quite an interesting thing, isn't it? Because often, cult heroes can be players who do really well, but equally they can be players who don't really do a lot, but somehow earn a place in cultdom, can't they? Could you describe it, Hutchie? Define it?
I guess it has to be there has to be just something about them that's away from the norm. Like you wouldn't describe Matt Holland, Marcus Stewart as cult heroes. They were kind of like the front line.
Yeah.
You need to be below the radar. Cucci had his kind of the celebration and his whole kind of approach to the game. Pablo, a bit of mystique about him. I think that helps. I don't know how to describe it. It's difficult, isn't it?
It's a feeling, isn't it? More than anything.
Yeah,
Cult
it's
heroes.
a feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Connor Chaplin, for example. I wouldn't put him in that. I wouldn't put him in that bracket. He's a very good player for Ipswich at this moment. I think cult heroes may be stretching that for him a little bit. Yeah.
There's more to be done on this. I feel like we're just... Sorry?
I've got two quickly. Fabian Wilness hates Norwich. Yeah. And then Danny Haynes used to score against Norwich. So I don't know. I think that's always that connection against a rival. If they score or say something about them, they sort of straight away, fans love them. So they're two there.
Yeah, that's a good... Yeah.
There's an interesting kind of deeper chat to be had around cult heroes, I think, and what they are and how they come about. Because it covers such a wide spectrum of players. And it is more that kind of your ratings sort of feeling sort of vibe, isn't it? Cult hero. Anyway, let's move on. Otherwise, we'll talk about this all day. Lee Hutchie wants to know, I might have missed it if it's been discussed. Sorry if I have, but what happened to the Milker Cup?
Very controversial. There's been some behind the scenes controversy with the Milker Cup. And that's all I can say for legal reasons. Can't go any further.
It's been suspended. Irregular betting patterns, I think, was the.
Well, that's all I can say. It may come back at some point.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Menton wants to know: have you watched Physical 100 on Netflix yet? Have you either of you two seen this, boys? If you haven't, This is going to be a very short chat. Good, excellent. Physical 100 is a Korean reality game show, like Squid Game. It's in Squid Game's vibe. So they're these kind of big over-the-top games they compete in. But they basically take 100 of the best athletes in Korea from a myriad of sports and pursuits and fitness models, crossfitters, wrestlers, boxers, whatever, MMA fighters, football. Anyway, and they pit them all against each other in a series of challenges, which has... Obviously, they don't get executed if they lose in Squid Games, but it's very Squid Games vibe. It's like a big computer telling them what to do, and it is really good viewing. I could highly recommend it, and I'd love it if they did it in this country, because if you took 100 of the best athletes from this country and pitted them against each other to find the best over a series of games, it would make great viewing. It's slightly, obviously, because I know quite a few of them, but I don't know all of them, and it'd be better if you kind of had more knowledge of who they were and that kind of thing in terms of relevance to you. But it is a really good watch. I'd highly recommend it if you've got some time to kill. Where are we? Dan wants to know, Hutchie, a number of long-term injured players are now back on the grass, or grass, as you say around here. Who do you think can still play a big part in the remaining games?
If we're talking injured players, who are we talking? Lee Evans, Don Ball, Panucci Kamara, John Jules. I think John Jules has to be the one that you pick out of that. Ball, I think Ball's going to be back sooner than hoped, but if Luongo grasps kind of the opportunity that's there for him, then that's kind of going to limit what Ball is required to do, which is probably a good thing, get him properly fit. Kamara, obviously, wait and see. I don't think it's sensible to hang your hat on him. Evans, we don't know if he's probably not going to play very, very much. But John Jules, there's a prospect there, and the hope with John Jules has to be that by the time he's back and playing, Ladapo and Hurst are firing fully, and he can be sort of eased back in and be a sort of a contributor there. Interesting. I liked John Jules sitting a bit deeper when he led the line a few times, and I think he did a decent job there. But I quite liked him in one of the supporting roles. Bit of power there, bit of physicality from that position, as well as the touch and technical ability too. So maybe there's a role for him.
You've covered two questions in one there, Hutchie, because Simon Bartlett went on to ask, given John Jules is back training, what do you see his role being between now and the end of the season? And there you go, Hutchie, you covered that. So there you go, Simon, that's done. Rossi, Richard Lee wants to know, with Hutchie seemingly bankrupting Heath bookies and now being a multi-millionaire, we are in the middle of a run, Hutchie, aren't we? That could see you win 34 million. You said win all 4 games, score at least 12 goals. So they're 2 in and they've scored 5 goals.
Goal behind schedule, but 2 home games to come.
Exactly.
So
big opportunities. What would be the first thing you'd all buy if you won big bucks? Would you invest in town? He says, assuming Ross would employ a full-time driver. You've basically got one of those already, Ross. So you don't actually have to pay. He's called Liam from Crew, or indeed anyone who drives you anywhere. So what would you, if you had loads of money, if you were well wedged up, Rossi, what would you spend it on?
Sensible option, buy a house.
Boring that, though, isn't it?
Yeah, boring. So yeah, Vegas or something. Get a private jet. Yeah, just visit different island. Maybe buy an island. But yeah, I'll be sensible though.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking PJ, private jet, private island, definitely the island of Heath. Hutchie, you'd probably just buy loads of football kits, wouldn't you?
No, I'm traveling. If money was no object to me, I'm seeing the world. I'm seeing everything.
That's a wonderfully sensible and perfect answer, I would say, actually, Hutchie, because that is the correct answer. And that is actually, now I think about it, what I'd like to do.
You got a private jet now, so I can
go anywhere. Yeah, I don't just want to spend it on my island. It's just nice to have an island, so I can say, "Oh, come to my island." Anyway, Andy wants to know, and this is a touchy subject. This, Andy, how did Hutchie's unveiling as Blue Monday's favourite king go down in the KOA world? Has fame gone to his head? Now, this was difficult for us all to take, Hutchie. Blue Monday, our podcasting friends, unveiled you as their favourite of this podcast, and indeed had you on a special of their own, available only to subscribers. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but I think if we're honest with ourselves, you've been making eyes at them for quite some time. You've been flirting with them for quite a long while, Hutchie. It's been noted. So it was no surprise to me. Stewie took it quite badly, I would say. I'm not sure if you're still talking to each other. Rossi, did it kind of, was it a dagger through the heart for you?
Or funny enough, Rich Woodward of Blue Monday, I saw him at the women's game. I think it was Sunday. He actually said it to me. He went, "Oh, it's my second favourite king." And I was like, "Ooh."
"Oh, we've got a ranking, so we know that it's Hutchie, then Ross, and then I'd imagine Stu. So I'm bottom of the pile, boys. That's brilliant. That's fantastic."
So yeah, as you can see, it hasn't caused any issues whatsoever.
Right then. Callum Pritchett wants to know, Hutchie, nice and simple, who's going to finish top scorer, Chaplin, Ladapo, or someone else? I think Chaplin's the best shout due to the amount of games he'll play compared to Ladapo. That would be the sensible choice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Nothing more to add on that.
How many is he going to get, Chappers?
I think. Look, I think it has to be league goals. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm going to get. What's he on in the league?
14, I think.
14. I think he might get 19 in the league.
19 in the league. Right then, we've got questions from, I believe, a father and son, Ross. You'll be able to confirm this. We've got the Sweet Welsh Prince Harvey Davis and also Terry Davis, which I think is the Sweet Welsh Prince's father, which makes him the Sweet Welsh King. Oof. Terry. Terry, let's start with the king first. Terry Davis. Why do some people always need a scapegoat in our team? Seems to be Burns currently. Let's all stick together. Keep up the good work. Love listening to the pod. Thanks, King Tell. Hutchie, it's not just Town, is it? They're always, in any football team, there always tends to be someone who's on the outs in terms of scapegoating, or I'm not sure scapegoat is the correct word. There's just someone who's a bit out of favour when the team's not doing particularly well.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't describe Wes Burns as being a scapegoat at the moment. When he was substituted at the weekend, he was cheered off. His name was sung as he walked past the fans on the way past. He's not, I think, visibly, some of the numbers, the contributions he's made this season have been really, really important. Really important. He scored some important goals. He's laid on some important goals. And in terms of numbers, that he's contributed well, but visibly to the eye, if you're watching these games, it's pretty obvious that the zip of last season isn't quite there, and we've discussed the factors for that at length. of why that might be, and some of that is down to form, some of that's down to the way the team's set up, all sorts. But I certainly wouldn't say he's kind of being scapegoated at the moment.
Yeah, you have it every now and then, don't you? We had elements of it with Lee Evans last season, wasn't there? When Town weren't doing too well, there was somebody suggested that Evans was the kind of one of the main causes of that. Chris Miles on this topic, by the way, just says, do you think Burns has had unfair criticism this season? General consensus seems to be he's underperformed, yet he's third in goal contributions, 6 goals, 7 assists, which isn't much below last season when he was deemed to be excellent. But I think you've kind of covered that there, Hutchie. Bit more than just the straight numbers, the eye test, which you and Stewie are always talking about. The sweet Welsh prince, then, after the sweet Welsh king, Harvey Davis, an awful lot of competition for Idris El Mazouni next season, but he's shown some really good qualities this year out on loan, of course, in League Two. Do you see him staying beyond the summer, Hutchie? Have you got any thoughts on that, Idris? He's doing well for himself.
Yeah. I mean, I've not watched any of the games, but everything I've heard has been that he's doing well. A bit of a switch up in position a little bit, I think, in the midfield. If Ipswich are in the Championship, which is where we hope they're going to be, it's going to be very difficult for someone like Idris to jump from League Two football to the Championship. It's but will he stay? I certainly don't think Ipswich will just release him. I think he's probably ahead of Raheem Harper. If we're talking, well, he is. I'm sure he probably is in terms of players out on loan. They're coming back. There's not going to be room for both of those, and I think one has sort of outperformed the other. So, be interesting. I'm sure they'll take a very good look at him in the summer, just like they've done with Corey and Darber previously, and then ultimately decided that you're probably not going to play loads here. Go and play at a good level. Next job for Idris is to do what he's doing at Orient for a team in League One, I guess, which could well be Orient. Who knows?
Okay. Rossi, Stuart's Gloves wants to know, does the panel have a favourite pair of football boots? For me, you can't beat a pair of Preds.
Yeah, Preds are up there for me, I think, as well. Anything Adidas, as you know. So, yeah.
You're contractually obliged not to wear anything else, are you? I believe.
Well, technically, I'm actually not wearing an Adidas. I'm not going to show it, but technically, I'm not actually wearing it.
Just cover the badge.
Just show it. What are you wearing? Come on.
It's Under Armour. Just comfy. It's just nice and comfy. And I love the colour. As you know, this is my colour.
Under Armour are a tremendous brand. I'd just like to say that if any kind of people from Under Armour are listening, we have 2 sponsors. There's always space for more. If you want to send us some Under Armour stuff, or indeed Adidas, we're not fussy. Yeah. But if the choice of the two, I'd say Under Armour. Ross would say Adidas. Hutchie, John Randall wants to know, what's your favourite cheese?
Halloumi.
Halloumi's underrated shout with cheese, actually. Lovely kind of nuttiness to it, isn't there? Rossi?
Yeah, I'm up there with halloumi. Love halloumi fries. But I like a bit of Edam. You know Edam?
Of course I know Edam.
I'm aware of it, yeah. Yeah. You know, that underground cheese movement, they call it Edam.
Edam. Yeah, that's up there for me. I like that.
If you can find it on the black market, get yourself some Edam. Yeah, I like Edam. My favourite is Stilton. I love a blue cheese with a nice, strong, smoky Islay whiskey. Fantastic. And then a little cigar as well. Anyway,
what a gentleman's evening that is.
Then I go and watch some horse racing. Yeah. Where we go. Kevin wants to know, how many eggs do you eat daily? I just want to make sure none of you are on drugs while you're working. This, of course, is Conor Benn's wonderful too many eggs excuse for failing a drugs test. Stewie is actually trying to eat a significant amount of eggs as we speak, isn't he, Hutchie? Which is a shame because he's not around at the moment to talk about it, but he is updating us on his egg intake. I think he's up to sort of 8 or 9 so far this week, which is quite high.
Yeah. I don't know if I could give you a daily. I'm certainly not. I'm not an egg a day, man. The only egg I had yesterday was a cream egg,
and that's not. I mean, that's not.
No, it's not. No,
technically
it's not
an egg.
No, it's not. You're right there, Mark. It's not. It's no. There's no chicken involved in laying that. But that is what I had a cream egg yesterday. Probably eat 3 eggs a week.
There you go. There's a number for you, Kev. So he's definitely not gaming the system, getting an advantage with eggs. Rossi, we know you're a fan of a courgette omelette. You told us that before. How many eggs do you consume on a weekly basis?
Well, during lockdown, I was having eggs every day, scrambled egg, omelette, but I've stopped really in recent weeks, months. But yeah, I'm probably the same as such. You maybe 3. Depends if I'm lazy and go to like a cafe or something, I'm straight away getting like 3 eggs. So it varies. So, but yeah,
if you go to a calf, you're straight away getting 3 eggs.
Yeah, 3 eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as he walks
straight up to that counter.
3 eggs.
Here's my money. 3 eggs, please.
You know, I have to fry up and I just go extra egg, please. Boom. There we go.
3 eggs halls, they call you, don't they? In those cafes that you frequent. Just to be clear, friends, if you just tuned in, we are actually currently getting paid to talk about how many eggs we eat in a week. I eat at least 2 eggs a day, so I'm a solid 14. I'm a omelette, scrambled eggs sort of guy pretty much every day. Omelette for breakfast, something eggy on a plate every day. Start your day with protein, friends. That's my advice to you. Couple more questions. FPL Tractor. Do Ipswich fans need to relearn how to handle a nervous run-in, given we've only had one in the past decade and a half? So I guess we are officially in that territory now, Hutchie, with 13 games left. Town are bang in the mix for potentially automatic promotion. That's still there, but definitely for the top 6. So a nervous run-in. Do you reckon we're ready for this mentally?
Run-in starts at 10 for me. We're not
Does
on
it?
the run-in yet. No. We're not. This isn't the home straight yet. That starts for 10 out. I think a lot of that's up to the team. Like, do we need to relearn? I guess we just need to hope it's different. That's really what we need to do. It's just hope that the team deliver.
When
We've
do we get
not been in this situation for. Even the year that they made the playoffs wasn't really that, was it? It was kind of clinging on.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
this is an alien thing, isn't it? If 10 is the firing gun for the running, then actually, when do we reach the firing point or the pistol? When do we get we've got insert number here, cup finals left?
Someone will say we'll keep an eye on that one.
Cup final watch, please. Yeah.
Somebody at one of these clubs in the top 6 or 8 is gonna say that soon. So,
and we'll bring it to you first.
Yeah,
Rossi, what do you reckon? Nervous running. You're the man with the fans. How do you reckon they're feeling ahead of this these last 13 games?
Yeah, I agree with Hutchie. I think the 10 games left mark is when we go, yeah, this is the run-in. I'm going into April. I think we've not really, since we've been in League One, we haven't actually had this position we're in. You know, in recent years, last season, you know, it was pretty much season was done in March, whatever time it was. And in previous League One campaigns, they've always just ended, badly. So this is the first time we've actually had a campaign where we're like, okay, we're in the mix here. So I think hopefully they're excited. They'll just be excited for every game and just look forward to it.
The thing that's so exciting about this one is that we're looking up and down. It's a proper mix, and that's why League One's the best promotion chase across the leagues this season. It's going to be for everybody. It's going to be a really exciting run in, and Ipswich are firmly in the mix for all of it, really.
Right then, I've just remembered I've had an email question which I want to finish with because we're coming to the end now. So I'm gonna read it. If I'm staring intently at the screen, that's because I'm reading the email, friends. I've not had a stroke. Where are we? Ben Hobbs says, "Hi Mark, I've listened to the podcast for about a year now and always enjoy hearing what the lads have got to say. Not sure when you're next doing a pod or mailbag feature. It'd be great if you could keep this question until then and put it to the boys. I'm going to do it now, Ben. If the worst case scenario happens and Town don't get promoted, how difficult do you think it would be to keep hold of some of our best players? When Ashton was selling his vision to the players to get them to drop down a league, surely he would have promised championship football at some point. Cheers." And he says, "Thanks and keep up the good work." Thank you, Ben. So then, we're talking about run-ins there, Hutchie, and the possibility of Town being promoted in some way, shape or form. If the worst does happen, though, and they don't get promoted, they've got some big names in this squad. What's the danger you think some of them would be targeted and would be off?
There are loads of them that will have come here expecting to be in the Championship by this season, but they all came hoping to be already in the Championship, of course. Loads of them will want to be there next season. But honestly, I think so many of them, and I'm talking with Sam Morsey in my mind here. They are so in on Ipswich Town and what the club's trying to do that I don't think it would quite be as simple. I don't think it would be as simple as, okay, we didn't get to the Championship. That's where I should be. I'm off territory. Of course, these players want to play in the Championship. But Town pay good money, which obviously helps. And as much as you can look at it and think, yeah, people are saying these things. Honestly, I really do believe that so many of them are all in on what Ipswich are trying to do and can see both with the coaching that they're getting from Kieran McKenna, the club's willingness to spend, the club's willingness to grow, and in some cases, take Connor Chaplin, for example. Connor Chaplin, yes, wants to be back in the Championship, but he is all in on Ipswich Town. He's a patron of the, a trustee of the club's foundation. These guys are all in on Ipswich. There might be one or two that have their heads turned a little bit. Christian Walton's another one. He'll want to be playing in the Championship, but they're all in on this. So I famous last words, and hopefully this scenario isn't even an issue, but I would hope that if the worst happens, I honestly can't see an exodus of people just rushing to the door and being like, I want out, because they're probably further in on this than they thought they would be. I know Sam Morsey certainly is. Obviously, we've talked about Sam Morsey and how it kind of a feeling like it took months for him to get into the mindset of being an Ipswich Town player. Didn't expect the move to actually happen, to be back in league. Didn't anticipate being playing League One football again, having reached the Championship with Wigan. But he's so in on Ipswich Town and what they're doing. So I honestly wouldn't see a mass exodus if. I think they could keep the team together, add to it again, and go again.
Yeah, I agree, Hutchie. It's we talk about the bigger picture on here all the time, don't we? But in Ipswich Town, the bigger picture is the thing, isn't it? The project they've all bought into, and so much around the club has changed, and so much is now what it should be. You know, the feeling around the club, the investment, the incredible support. Where else are you going to go? There's not many other clubs you can go to in the Championship, even where you're going to get this level of support that Town get every single week from the fans. Yes, they pay good money as well, which helps. So yes, we all hope they go up this season, but you do get the feeling if and when they do go up, they're not just going to stay. They're just going to go, right, we're happy to be here, are they? They're going to look, right, how do we go up the next level? So it is that kind of long-term ambition, everything. Ashton talking about being relentless, and you believe him. There's that whole kind of drive at the club, isn't there? It's not just about what's happening on the pitch on Saturday. The whole thing is like this, isn't it? Taking off. It feels like anyway. So I hope for the reasons discussed that you'd be right there. Would you have any fears, Rossi, about big names? I mean, clearly there will be decisions, I guess, to be made in that nightmare scenario, and I guess a lot of it will come down to age of players as well and how much career they've got left, that kind of thing. But would you fear an exodus?
No, yeah, just echo what both of you have said. I think they're here for a long-term project. Yeah, as you said, there's not many clubs you can play in front of, 20 to 30,000 fans, every week. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of them signed to bring this team back to the Championship. Maybe there'll be a few who would like, no, I can't leave this club without getting them back to the Championship. So, okay, of course, if a good fee gets, chucked in front of Mark Ashton's face, he may go, okay, I made a profit there. But no, I think there's a lot of players here who want to get this football club back to the second tier. So hopefully they can do it this season.
The other thing maybe on this point I'd say is that it's not a scenario sort of with Peterborough with like even Tony those few years ago where there's a player in there that you're looking at it and that this is not in any way saying that they haven't performed well. Of course they have, and they've got players that could play Championship football quite comfortably and have in the past. But with Tony, for example, there was no way that he was going to carry on playing League One football because he had just performed to that higher level and had that strong a set of attributes that quite simply a club of Peterborough's size could not and would not keep hold of him. we've talked about Ipswich being sort of a team that are greater than the sum of their parts, and that's true. I don't think there's no star man in there. The one, and this is not in any way questioning whether he's in or not, but the one that I would worry about a little bit would be Leif Davis.
Yeah,
who I think he could be one that could be coveted. I'm not sure there are players in there that are going to be coveted, like to the level that Ipswich would need them to be coveted by other teams to push for a sale. Yeah. Davis, at his age and having played this many games for the first time in his career, and the skill set that he's got, he could be one. I think that if they didn't get up, there'd be people looking, actually, you should be playing at a higher level, and we're willing to pay several £million to make that happen. But it would have to be a massive fee.
You look at his stats, don't you, as well, Hutchie, that he's producing. I mean, I think he's a leading chance creator in League One. He's third in assists with 8. He's really producing on kind of every level in what is his first season, really playing regularly. So, yeah, you're probably bang on there. That brings us to the end of Mailbag, then, friends. That's been a good one, so I enjoyed it. Every so often, it's nice to do a big old special of that and chew the fat around various subjects, from cheese to cult heroes. Before we finish the last 10 minutes or so, obviously we're going to talk about Burton, but before we get there, Stuart Watson, who's not here today, has done a piece this morning looking at the March fixtures, 5 games in March as we approach the run-in. And I thought we'd do the same thing, just very quickly now, quick fire, as it were. The 5 games are, of course, Burton at home, Accrington at home, Bolton away, Shrewsbury at home, Barnsley away. So Stuart's predicted an unbeaten month. You can go and read that now if you want to see his exact predictions. He's saying that Town are going to go unbeaten and will still be very much in the thick of it at the end of March. Roscoe, let's kick off with you. Burton at home on Saturday. We're going to have a more in-depth chat about Burton in a minute. How do you see this one going?
I think we go into this game as a bit of an unknown, because Burton are a very different team the last time we played them, and have they're actually a form side in League One. But I'm going to go for a win, but it's going to be I think it's going to be a cagey win, but a solid Town performance. I've actually only gone for I've varied it up actually on different things, and we've done a video on it as well on our YouTube channel.
Yeah,
so check
watch
out
that
if you want with Stu. I'm going to go 2-0.
2-0. We'll put a pin in that what you just said there about Burton being in form, because we'll come back for a bit more of an in-depth look at Burton in a minute. Rossi's saying 2-0. Hutchie, we know it has to be a win. It certainly has to be a win for you to win that money. What are you saying?
2-0.
2-0. Okay, I will say 3-0. Accrington at home on the following Tuesday night. A real chance to supercharge the promotion push with back-to-back home games, Saturday, Tuesday. Rossi, what are you saying?
Hopefully the same as the Morecambe game. You know, Accrington struggling, so why not 4-0?
Stewie's gone 4-0 as well, I believe. Andy?
I'll go 3-0.
So would that be, they've got 5 goals. You just said 2-0, 7. So you'd be 2 goals short there of your big money moves, which would be frustrating, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be the MK. The MK game was the issue.
I'm going to say 2-0. Bolton away. This is where we get into the real rubber meeting the road sort of vibe, isn't it? The big games. We'll start with you, Hutchie. Bolton away. Bolton have stumbled a bit actually in recent weeks, having been that irresistible force. They lost in midweek, in fact, at Portsmouth, and now they've played 2 more games than everyone else around them, and are still obviously behind Town. This is going to be a tough game, though. Clearly, how do you see it going?
I think this one might suit Ipswich a little bit.
Yeah,
the game. Yeah. Very cautiously, I'm going to put them down to win it 1-0.
Like it. I'm going to say draw. I reckon 1-1. Rossi?
Yeah, I'm going to go the easy route and go for a draw as well, 1-1.
It is the easy route. Shrewsbury at home. Again, Shrewsbury side in decent form. Until recently, they were unbeaten since New Year's Day and had really climbed the table under Steve Cottrell. Hutchie, obviously at home, Town will be the favourites. How do you fancy this one?
Yeah, look, if Ipswich have to win their home games, and I think they will. I think this could be tight again, though. I think it might be 1 or 2-0. I'll say 2. The optimistic side of me can say 2-0.
2-0. Rossi?
I want to go with my heart with this one, but I'm going with my head. I think it's going to be a draw, you know, and I don't know if that's good or not. I think they're going to be
probably not good.
No, Stu's dark horses this season. I think they're I think they're going to miss out on the playoffs definitely now because I think the top 6 is the top 6. But I've gone for a Desmond, a 2-2 draw. I think it'll just be some frustrating moments, and they'll get some goals, Shrewsbury.
I'm going to say 3-2. So, Hutch, I think you've predicted 4 straight wins there, haven't you? Which should be 6 in a row, which would be tremendous. Which would be excellent, actually, arriving at Oakwell and Barnsley at the end of the month. Barnsley themselves, although they're going extremely well at the moment, I think they've got a tough run of fixtures coming up ahead of this game. Clearly, the kind of momentum monsters at the moment in League One, 2 games in hand, could be third if they win that, and within touching distance of Plymouth. How are you feeling about this one, Hutchie? I know. Obviously, it's very hard to say a month ahead of the game how it's going to go, but hey, that's what we do, innit? It's a bit of fun.
Yeah, I'm going to put them down to lose it, but that's all right. They've just won 6 in a row. It's fine. Let's all not panic about it when that happens.
Care to put a number on it, sir?
3-1.
3-1. Heavy. I suppose that would class as heavy for Town actually these days.
Yeah. Well, let's see. It's a month away, but I don't think that if kind of the course I've plotted out for Ipswich there plays out, losing at Barnsley's fine.
4 wins and a loss in March. Rossi?
Now, after 2 draws in a row, Town are going to get back to winning ways with a 1-0 win. Connor Chaplin, late winner against his former club. I think his first return back to Oakwell since signing for Town. Going with my heart. Come on.
That would be huge, wouldn't it? Town winning at Barnsley. That'd be tremendous. Hutchie, what was it? You made a noise there, was it?
I'm just like, this is such a pointless exercise.
The people like it, Hutchie. The people like to look ahead, and they're playing along at home right now. Trust me. I'm going to say they're going to lose at Barnsley. I don't think it'll be 3-1. I think it'll be 2-1. But I am literally never right. So, friends, take solace from that. They probably will win, hopefully. Right then, let's talk about the game that is actually happening. We can actually talk about Hutchie with some level of knowledge. It's Burton this weekend. Burton, if you look at them, 18th in the table, that doesn't really tell the whole story because they are on what you'd have to describe as a good run of form. They've won 4 of their last 6 games and 6 of the last 10. And in doing so, they've climbed clear of the drop zone. Rossi, actually, let's start with you because you've recorded Meet the Oppo. You've spoken to a journalist, or was it a journalist or fan? This one,
commentator Dave Fletcher from BBC Radio Derbyshire.
The fine county of Derbyshire. What did he tell you about Burton?
Very good mood, Burton, at the moment. In a really good mood. The fans, the manager, the players. They've got a team of lone players. I'll have to admit. A lot of signings in January, but very a better mood than they were when they last played us. Of course, that was a tough game at the Pirelli last time out. You know, Town had to really dug in deep and get the win there. But yeah, since then, Jimmy Floyd's gone, and they've signed a lot of players. Of course, they've got good old Gassan. Of course, won't be able to play because of the loan rule. But they're a team on the up, and I think they're confident they could possibly stay up. As you said, you know, their run of form at the moment out of the relegation zone. They've got a lot of experienced players as well. They've got the long throw man, Tom Hamer. Although they're not using it as often, they're actually more throwing it to then Jasper Moon, who's their defender on loan from West Brom, who's then crossing it in. Before they used to just long balls into the box and hope for the best pinball. But different style of player they're bringing up, and that's why I'm a bit cautious with this one, a bit of going into the unknown, because this is maybe a different Burton side. But this could be all wrong, and Burton could be rubbish, and we beat them 3-0 like we did last time out, and we scored in 42 seconds. But no, this is going to be an interesting one.
Good insight there, Rossi. Did he tell you anything about how Gassan's been getting on? Obviously, he can't play at the weekend, but has he been?
Because they've got so many loan players. Because there's that rule in it on how many in a match day squad. So I think he missed out on the first game he was back on loan, and some people were a bit shocked about that because he was the man who was scoring the goals in August for them. But I think he made his first start against Accrington on the weekend in the goalless draw, and he looked sharp. And hopefully he'll add the goals because they've lost some of their big men. You know, Victor, I won't say his last name because I can't say it. He's gone to Bolton, who's their top goal scorer.
Yeah, you can.
Adebayo? No.
Adebayo.
Yeah,
that's the one. But they've lost him, but they've been able to bring in some other players. They've got Josh Walker as well, and Dale Taylor, who's on loan from Forest, who scored on his debut a few weeks back. so they've been able to replace them. But yeah, Gassan's been doing okay, and hopefully he'll get fully up to speed and score some goals from him again.
Good insight, that, Rossi. Thank you. And if you want to get the full insight, go and watch the Meet the Oppo video, which is out now on our channels. Hutchie, when we looked at this run of 4 games on paper, obviously we were saying win, fairly straightforward, these 4 games. But when you look at Burton's recent form, it maybe won't be that straightforward.
Yeah. Saying like, yes, you have to appreciate that they've had an upturn in form. It's not an easy victory, of course it's not. But this is still Ipswich Town at home to Burton Albion in League One. Like, let's not get too carried away with Burton's form. This isn't Sheffield Wednesday coming here, so you still have to look at it as a game Town have to win. I don't think you can't ever accuse Ipswich of going into games feeling arrogant or taking teams lightly. That I don't think that's really been the case. And they certainly won't with Burton. But good form, bad form, whatever the form, Ipswich need to beat Burton Albion at home and have got the players to do it. So I'd expect the same this weekend.
We've all said they're going to win, so hopefully they will. Dino Mamria, by the way, is he the most muscular manager in the Football League? And can we
how
find
many
out?
eggs?
That's what I want to know. That you get to sit in on the conference, ask him, Dino, how many eggs are you boshing a week?
I'll let the Eggman Watson. He can be. I've eaten 38 eggs this week. Dino, how many guns? How have those guns got so big?
I bet Dino's solidly in the kind of high 20s, low 30s in his egg consumption. If we can find out, though, that for me is the most interesting thing about this game. Outside, of course, Town hopefully winning the game. Friends, that brings us to the end of the show. We've hit an hour almost on the nose, which I'm quite impressed with time management wise. Anything else to mention, friends? Rossi, you've got fan social tonight, haven't you, coming up? Who's on that?
Simon Bartlett, who's done a question.
He's
making his, I think, maybe his 3rd appearance, and then good old Steve from Devon, our correspondent down there.
Steve Wallace.
So, yeah, Steve Wallace.
Good old Steve, top lad.
Steve. Yeah.
So listen to that. It'll be out tomorrow when Friday it goes out. Fan social. So get involved in that after this one. Hutchie, you've got any other business?
I have actually. What? Yeah, Colchester appointed Ben Garner as their new manager while we've been recording this.
Okay.
So
that's interesting.
I've got nothing else to say about that, but Colchester have appointed Ben Garner.
They've got a new manager.
Yeah.
Fantastic. There we go. Right then, friends, all that leaves me to say then, as usual, shambolic outro. Just a reminder to support our sponsors. Use the code KOA at manscaped.com for 20% off and free delivery on all the excellent Clobber and new lines they've just put out there. And also, of course, if you want to improve your digital marketing, your SEO, your Google ad ranking, whatever, anything in that sphere, get involved with Tony Southgate and the boys at Ginger Pickle. They're the goats of digital marketing. Also, I'd like to say subscribe if you can to wherever you get your podcast from, so you get all this dropping into your feed, and also leaves a 5-star review, just like Arnold Bickers did. If you enjoyed any element of our chat, particularly the lanyard chat or maybe the cheese chat, I don't know, leave us a 5-star review because it helps lift our visibility in those charts. And also follow us across social media, Kings of Anglia, on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Right, friends, this podcast is in the book. The week is almost in the books as we build up to Burton. Signing off then for Andy Warren, Blue Monday's favourite of our team. Roscoe, Blue Monday's 2nd favourite. Stuart Watson's not here. I speculate he's the 3rd favourite. And yours truly, Mark Heath, right at the bottom of the pile. Story of my life. Things can only get better, friends. Have a great weekend, and we'll speak to you next time.